Welcome everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. I'm joined by my co-host Jody Eppier.
How are you?
I'm Miles OK, and we look forward to taking you along for the ride. Let's get straight into it. The reflections for the week, positives and things we need to improve on.
Oh, I suppose it's just keeping the room in a particular way, and it's hard when you're sharing a room here and there. But I'm fortunate I share a room with one other, but it's just maintaining the room. So I've allocated kids to keep the room tidy per week.
Mm-hmm.
So their job is to maintain that the books and the folders are all neat and tidy for a week, and then swap over to someone else. So it's just that. I think that's one thing that I need to work on. I think the positive is just the routines the kids understand, especially the lower school. The lower school's doing a lot of just hammering them with, not hammering, but just really giving them a lot more to think about outside of school.
Yeah.
Work-wise.
Yeah. How much do you correlate weather to student behaviour?
Oh,
it's interesting, isn't
it
it?
is, bro.
Like put a bit of sun out. Probably correlate weather to staff behaviour. Definitely my behaviour. But there's a bit of sun outside and suddenly the kids seem to calm down a bit.
Yeah.
But then too much sun and those energy levels get all the way up again.
And then when you throw wind in the mix and wind and rain
It just
together,
blows their mind.
man.
They just stay at home, teachers and students. I actually took a leap from your book last week, and on the drive home, phoned a few parents up to pass on some positive remarks, which was good.
Yeah.
I mean, adding to my podcast time, but is what it is. I make these sacrifices, and the improvements is I'll probably just checking with my well-being. I think at times I still try to. Because I was saying the other to-do list every week for my class and the department, and I very much live by it. And then at times, if I don't get stuff done by the end of the week, I get frustrated. But it's just learn to sort of relax a bit and go, okay, you're not going to get everything done all the time, and you don't have to be constantly hammering nails at everything, which is a learning experience. But I think it's the trade-off in productivity for your well-being to look at.
I'll jump on that one too, but in regards to the positive phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
it is one of those things that actually lifts the spirits of both yourself and the parent. Especially the one parent that I rang today, she actually thought it was a negative phone call, and just her tone of her voice just changed, and you could hear it almost like you're talking about my daughter. It's like, yeah, your daughter.
I made one today on behalf of a teacher as well for a student that's usually getting phone calls home from misbehaving. The dad was over the moon.
Oh.
Like, what's he done this time? I was like, no, look, it's good this time. It's just for such a small investment of time is a good reward or turnaround.
Oh, the return on those sorts of things, the positives that come off it. Not only that, the kid comes back the next day, having a positive outcome toward the topic.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. It's like that iron sharpens iron, and everybody's feeling good about themselves. And it might just be that one bit of kindness that you sort of put out there, and then it sort of comes back tenfold. So yeah.
I think I always tell the parent as well, can you make sure that, and they do, but just make sure that you let your daughter or son know that it was Mr. O'Kane or whoever, the teacher involved, so they know there's a connection there.
Absolutely.
And get it from there. My question to you, mate, to find deeper about you, what's your defining characteristics for a good whiteboard marker?
Ooh.
Defining characteristics that makes a good whiteboard marker.
A chiseled tip end.
Mate, last time I trusted you with a chisel, we lost the department fridge.
And gained an even better one. There you go.
What do you mean? Is it chisel tip, the end?
Yeah, the chisel tip. I find it easier. I prefer that one. Only because of the style and how I write, that's all.
You probably have got the neatest handwriting in Western Australia. Favourite colour?
Whiteboard marker?
Okay, 2 colours. Which are your 2 colours?
I'm going to go black first and red, obviously, for everything else, but mainly black and red.
Do you leave your markers in your pocket during the day, or you leave them on the whiteboard?
Nah, I leave them up on the whiteboard. I've had that mistake of leaving them in the pocket, done the old lid come off, the old ink stain.
Oh,
No
see, I have the old problem of taking them home by accident, and then I find I got half a department worth of markers I need to take back to school a month later. The other thing is because I'm in all the different rooms, I'm tending to leave whiteboard markers on the whiteboard. But then I went into one classroom today and there's 6 sets of black and red whiteboard markers on the whiteboard. Yeah. I was like, whoa, I got to start keeping tab of this, which is weird because normally I'm all over stuff like that, but it just seems to, the whiteboard markers have escaped me. So I'm a pointed edge person, a pointed edge whiteboard. I think it's just my handwriting is illegible at the best of the time, so it doesn't matter what you give me. But Yeah, it's an important resource. Those whiteboard markers, isn't it?
Comes in handy. Yeah.
I don't use it. I tried it a few years ago. Colleagues tried to get me on the refillable ones, and I get the price is cheaper for the refillable ones, but it's just the work you had to put in for the saving of 94 cents or whatever it was. I was like, look, we sharpen enough pencils. We can have whiteboard markers. So look, today's episode, we're just following on from, we've looked at non-teaching posts last week, looked at students a week before. So now we're going to look at working with teaching colleagues, things that make us laugh, cry, and everything in between. So we'll start with the positives first. So why I enjoy working with teachers, I think the support network, man. I think most teachers are on a similar path in terms of thought patterns. And again, we keep going over it, but most teachers are in it for the right reasons, want to make a difference. So realising that and knowing that people are like-minded around you, I think it makes it easier to reach out and give support and then accept support as well. Would be my first one.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you?
I'm jumping on the positive side of the thing. I think, as you've just touched on, it's to do with the fact that we're all there for a purpose, and it's a common purpose towards trying to move students from A to B to wherever else. And I think the other positive is that every teacher that comes brings their own flavour, brings their own style or techniques or little quirks that they add to their teaching technique, which is actually quite cool, because then if you get the opportunity to observe another teacher teach, it's like, wow, that's cool, and you sort of think, I would never have done it that way or something like that. So I like that part as well, where every teacher brings something different. Like, I know when you've got your class at the beginning, the enthusiasm that you have with getting all the kids into the room, get their stuff ready, get ready to go, and just that urgency to move them through. I think that's great, because what that does with the kids is like, yep, let's go, come on. I do similar things, but at the same time, I do a countdown instead of trying to think. The kids they all see everything up on the board, what they have to do. Yeah. So it's just neat to compare styles and think, well, I'll pick, it's like cherry picking parts that you'll do and something that you may not do. So that's one positive. Next head of department I work for, told me, or passed on to the department, said, look, you meet or you match the students' energy at the door they come in with. And I find these days, with everything going on in my life, energy is definitely a finite resource. But I know if I put in an extra little bit of work at the start, it comes off or it pays off towards the end. But definitely, and it's putting that energy in for the first 5 minutes. I'll tack onto that as well. I mean, I definitely enjoy teaching for the people you meet. I think in this day and age more so, but I think teaching requires such a vast amount of skill that you meet all these different characters. And then sometimes it's obviously teaching is a very personable thing. There's a lot of talking involved. But some of the best teachers I've met and known have been introverts outside of the classroom. In the classrooms, very different. They just have a way with that. I mean, they're good speakers in front of a class. But then put them in a staff meeting, they don't want to talk, But then put them in a class and they're great in front of the kids. So it's just, I find that interesting and I find it curious. And I think that because teaching is such a personal thing, I quite, like you said, seeing the different personalities in the classroom. Absolutely.
And then I think it's having that, knowing that, I like, probably similar to you, I like having different experiences. So I think being around that day to day, and don't get me wrong, there's some crazies in teaching as well, which I wonder how they became teachers, but there's an incredible amount of people that are good teachers as well.
I think the other cool thing on top of that one as well is just when you find where you are in the order of your department and so forth, and you can have that open banter, and you know who you can have banter with and cannot. That also creates a real good environment with colleagues, Like, we can laugh at one, and they can come back at you, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So we've got a colleague that we sort of, I don't pick on him, but he's so easy to pick on in the sense.
Well, if I'm thinking it's the same guy, it's not easy. I think he's used to having his way for the last 7 decades. That suddenly he's got some fresh people in there that aren't going to take it. And look, we say this in jest as well. If you're listening, colleagues, but no, it is. I think it's be able, but it's the banter that has to be professional still as well. Like, you don't just come in and then just. And I think the other thing is with us, I like the way that, it's a you work well together,
Yep.
but then you have a bit of laughing as well. I think there's got to be a balance to it.
Absolutely.
And especially because we're all different ages as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the energy of a young graduate compared to a more seasoned teacher on the way out to retirement is very different.
Absolutely.
So I think it's be able to cater for all that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of that. I think having getting your daily laughs up, as I call it, I think it's important to laugh in life, and it's especially important to laugh around students within reason. I think it's showing them that obviously you care, but you can have a joke as well. And students just want to do everything to test you, especially schools we've worked at and the difficult students. They're so used to, they can be masterminds at avoiding work. And you're almost like going, if you put this work in, if you put this amount of energy and effort into doing work, you'd be a genius.
Absolutely.
But it's just all the avoidance techniques. So yeah, it's I think be able to laugh and be around people that laugh as well. That's got to be important for your mental health.
And you've touched on the fact that, you know, we've got different various groups, age groups in our department, and that's cool because we bring a bit from all different generations, all the way for different age groups, and how we would deal with things. And it's neat because the different age groups also have a different type of teaching style, individually and so forth. And I'll go to one of our colleagues just to pick his brain about how he would deal with an academic thing, and he'll go, oh, I'll do this, and this, and vice versa. They might go, oh, how would you deal with this kid who's not doing this in the classroom? So we share knowledge constantly, and I think the cool thing is, it's not done in a formal setting, like a meeting.
Yeah,
it's just done on the whim, in the sense of we all sit together in the office. We all have this open chat about whatever's going on. We catch up with each other. That's the other good thing with having a good department, in the sense is that we can talk about where we're up to with our programs. We can say, oh, this is what we're going to do. So just constant talking, in the sense of keeping everybody on the same track where we're up to. It's always been a good thing.
Yeah, and I keep saying that throughout the episodes. I'm big on, like, I'm very cautious of my time, and like everyone knows, people don't have time to burn. But if you can keep all that stuff just on an informal basis and quick, it makes more time for the actual teaching, which seems to possibly be on the back burner these days, in my opinion, which cuts down the workload. I think having a good team around you means you don't have to be a lone wolf with everything and hunt down and build resources, build assessments. Obviously, I mean, you're sharing the workload, so, which comes down, and you build that trust within a team. But if you've got people that are willing to chip in, it just makes life so much easier, and it makes your teaching more effective as well, because you're not spread too thin.
That's it.
Everyone can just focus on being in the classroom, building those relationships with students, delivering the curriculum, instead of having to stress heaps about the extra paperwork, but which everyone goes through. You go through periods in your life. You know, I mean, I've said it on the podcast before. Like when I first started teaching, I was there at 6 p.m. at school, but I was young and didn't have a family and stuff. But whereas nowadays I'm out by, as soon as the bell goes, I'm beating traffic.
See, but that's a cool thing, you know, through experience, you've created a system by where the programs are pretty much there. The teachers and all the staff that we get in can literally just jump into the program from where it's left off and then continue. So there's no real having to do a lot of that extra planning stuff, because that's already pretty much done for everyone. And I think the cool thing with the department is that that's ready for every year group at every term, even down to every week. So all of that process is done, and as you say, all we have to do now is just focus on the teaching component of things, building the relationship with students and other staff. And that's the main thing that we have to, all of that admin stuff has already been pretty much done. You just got to apply it.
Yeah, it's a tweaking over time, which is, I think you don't want to be reinventing the wheel all the time if you can just tweak over time. And then I think we'll do one more point on positives. I think it's, like, I find it's nice, I think because we're both very passionate about teaching the profession, it's nice seeing people grow in the profession as well. I think because, you know, the people, if you care, the people around you generally are going to absorb that in some aspect or some way. So if you, which we do, I know you do, care about your profession, how you grow, people see that and they're happy to bounce stuff off you. And I definitely enjoy seeing people grow in their career and improve and, you know, overcome challenges. I see you go through challenges and they face it, and they don't always get there to start with. But even just facing it's great, but then to overcome that through failing a couple of times, I think is massive. You know, I think it's important in life, but especially in teaching, which then links back to, I mean, my belief that teaching should be one of the most respected professions out there.
Yeah.
I think being able to role model that to students is huge.
Being thick-skinned, bro, one of those things where you gotta, not let everything get to you. Like, I think the cool thing, one of the positives that I'm gonna touch on is we all pretty much, as a teacher, we're pretty well rounded, but you'll also notice that there are some teachers that do certain things differently or more effectively. And the cool thing is that we're willing to share that knowledge and support one another. So I think the cool thing with all of the staff that's in our department in particular, we've got very experienced to very new and everything else in between. And the cool thing is that at any stage or any part of it, we can always give, this is what we do, or this is how we do.
Yep.
So being supportive to one another, it helps, because then you can be relied upon and you can rely upon others. It's a reciprocal thing. So
yeah, it's not just one person breaking the wall down. You're all going through it together. All right, man, the flip side, the not so good with working with teachers. I'll go. So I think if you look, and I've moved around a few schools now in my career, I think, and a couple of them being sort of negative environments. If you get stuck in a negative environment, it can be pretty brutal. And I think with teaching, with permanency and stuff, people who have been there for a while, teachers might have been there for a while, see it as an easier thing to stay at the school than move on, and they've become quite negative. It can just sort of go around the department. I mean, I remember I was working with one guy at one school, and he'd moved on, then we caught up that year or something later, and he was saying there's two old teachers who are both like 20 years at the school, who had a falling out like 15 years ago, sit opposite one another in department and just don't say a word to one another. Like stuff like that, which you think is crazy, but it's just because people just get stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
And I think I've been in departments where it's just a lot of whinging and whining, but no solutions to problems. It drags me down, and then you try not to drag yourself into it, and then you feel like you're the one fighting for the positives.
I think that's something that all staff need to be wary of is, it's good to support and it's good to be there to support, but try not to take it on as though it's something that you have to try and fix as well, because sometimes there are some staff members that you actually end up working with, and they can actually be quite taxing in the sense of taking a lot more of your time, because like, it's okay if you support someone, but if they don't, and you may offer support or offer ideas, but they don't adhere to them or they don't apply them, that's where, in my opinion, it's one of those old sayings, don't cast your pearls before swine. It's one of those things where if they're not going to do anything for themselves to try and change the outcomes, then don't keep feeding into it.
I very much work off the once bitten, shame on me, twice bitten, shame on me, because I think you got to give everyone a chance. And I think, people are going to, when you start a new school especially, people are going to come to you telling you certain stuff, but you make your own opinions up. But if you keep going back and getting messed over, that's going to come down to you.
That's right.
And and it can get awkward, especially if you're a younger teacher or a graduate walking into those situations. But don't do anything. Just do your best to be professional. But then don't feel like you got to take on everything as well.
I suppose it's just make sure if everybody stays in their lane and everybody's doing their job, life is a lot easier. And let's say someone's life or teaching career or teaching is not doing so well, it's a lot easier to help them as long as they are trying to stay on path. And it's when they're not on path and you offer support or you give them ideas, or even if you show them how to do it, yet they still don't apply it, then that's something where they'll need to go away and rethink of either getting professional development to upskill that area, or at least identify the fact that that's an area that needs to be upskilled. Because nothing worse than having the same thing repeat itself no matter where you go, because if you don't address it, it's going to raise its head again.
Yes. That one staff member that always talks a big game in the staff meeting, but doesn't seem to live it. Maybe it's just me and the people I've been around, but I feel like there seems like a pattern between those whole staff meetings where there's always someone who wants to say a lot of stuff. But at the back of the mind, they're the one not doing it. So whether they want to look good in front of their peers or they just feel like they have to speak. I also have a fascination, I think, in those, an audience situation, when people start speaking, the group around them starts to feel like they have to speak as well. So then everyone starts off, which is probably not a bad thing. Everyone starts offering things. But then you start to wonder if people are just saying stuff because they want to be heard, or they're saying stuff because they don't want to feel like they are being left out of the situation.
Yeah.
But it just strikes me there's always the one or group of staff members that are always talking a large game but never really backing it up.
That's so true, brother. I'm going to jump on that one because that's those ones that if you're going to do anything, if you're going to walk the walk and talk the talk, make sure you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that if you're not, you easily get identified as, oh, hold on a minute. I don't mind if you're going to talk it up and then you're trying to get there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's when you talk it up and you're not there and you're not even trying to get there and you're not changing anything about it. Just to call a spade a spade. If you're teaching and everything you do is a reflection of who you are, and if you are saying one thing but doing the opposite, then that shows the characteristics that you come in with. But if you're a man of your word or a teacher of your word, you actually do it by example and you make sure it gets done to the point where everything. So you're not just saying, oh, this person says things and it doesn't get done.
Mm-hmm.
You say it, get it done, move on, and then you get known as, wow, it's done. He does what he says. So
The action's not word, isn't it?
absolutely.
I want to say this next statement, and I want to see what comes into your head. Photocopier jams.
Ooh.
How could that be related to things that frustrate you about colleagues?
Professional etiquette, man.
Which
if you know you've done it.
You can't just leave it. You can't just leave it. And this isn't me, just it's nothing that's happened recently, but it's common when you work in teaching through schools or photocopier. I mean, you'd imagine being in the 21st century would be transferring more to digital skills, but the photocopier for the physical copies still seems a pretty hot resource. So it can get a little bit hot and frustrated in there. But just be professional. Make sure you're not hogging it, as in overusing it. Make sure. I worked at one school where there was a lady just went up there and she's just like, "This is my time now," and it'd be like midday. You're like, there's so much stuff to do still. There's like 12 people in the department. There's no booking sheet. You just can't do that.
I think there's just a professional standard in the sense, it's an unwritten professional standard in the sense that if you've got multiple copies that you're doing, you try and do it early as you can before school starts or even after school. It's one of those things, especially if it's quite a big document that you're photocopying. Number one. Number two, if you do stuff up, jam up the thing.
You don't run away.
Yeah, don't run away.
Don't run away.
And the cool thing is that today's photocopiers have actually got a troubleshoot and pictures, and you just follow that.
They're so detailed. And you don't give up after step 1 or step 2. You go through to step 8.
And you don't, and it's not the old just give it a whack on the side and it'll fix it. It's
I wish.
follow through. And
I wish.
When you follow each step, all of a sudden the machine will go, wow, I'm working again. And so that happened to me today. There was a jam, didn't panic, just followed.
You can't panic.
No, you can't.
You know when you hear that sound that one of the papers has been eaten,
Yeah.
and you just see everything flash up on the display, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be here for a while. And do you ever get those compartments like you don't know exist?
Yeah.
Where the hell is that department? When do I get that out?
Just don't panic. And like the other one is, in the department there's always someone who knows more and utilize their skills. So
Work out your own problems first.
Yes.
Give it a crack first.
Yes.
Don't just go to your head of department. Because if he probably doesn't know much about it either. Okay. I think we're at the time here. Other teachers whining. We've talked about that. Yeah, and I think there's a fine line between, for the very Australians saying here, handball received and delegation. Handball received in football means you've been given something and you can make something out of it. Sometimes it's just, then you run into a bad situation. Delegation means you're delegating a task and not just putting more work on people. I mess that up, but basically not just giving people more work because you don't want to do it. Yeah. I think there's a fine line. And then teaching, you just want to make sure. And sometimes the people giving you the job don't see it as that. They just see it as you're trying to make things more effective. But if you feel like you're just getting stuff constantly, just make people aware of that.
Yep.
But at the same time, just if you're getting it once or twice, like you are going to pick, most likely in any team, there's going to be a little extra lifting at one point.
Yep. That's just part and parcel. We all have to go and collect photocopy paper. It's just your turn. It's your turn. It's these things here. Like, as you say, if you do get delegated stuff, sometimes though, when you get the flip side to that is if you do get delegated stuff, it's either gives you opportunity to learn in that area and stretch that area of yours that may need to be improved, or it maybe give you a further opportunity further down the track that you become so familiar and so au fait with doing that sort of thing.
Oh, good word.
Yes.
Good word. You're between your riddles and your vocabulary. Continue to impress. All right, so final remarks on the episode. So goods and bads working with teachers. Look, for me, yeah, I mean, I love what I do, and I love it sort of being part of my life. And if this day I stop enjoying teaching, it's the day I'll do something different. But I mean, it's always nice to be able to go into a workplace where you feel like you're supported, you belong, and you can have a reasonable to fun time with your colleagues, obviously professional, outside of the classroom.
Same with me. Enjoy what you do. If you love teaching, if you love your craft, just really do it to the best that you can do it. And at the same time, if there's areas that you can support someone, do so. Not to the point where it's taxing on you though. And if there is a negative atmosphere or whatever, you don't have to sit in it. You don't have to be part of it. You can actually go, okay, that may be so, but when I go into my room, this is how I want it to be. So also learn to detach yourself from things if there are negative, let's say, staff members in your department or the atmosphere is not so good. Just as long as you don't portray that to the kids, that you're always professional, try your best, try to create an atmosphere by where kids just love being in your room. So yeah, for me, just be the best version of you as a teacher. Give everything you can and learn from the mistakes that you do or from others, even if others do mistakes, as we tell our kids to do so. As long as you're trying to improve, that's the main thing. You will never, in my opinion, ever be frowned upon if you're at least making attempts to improve.
I agree. I think in those final inspiring words, like always, we thank you for listening and we'll catch you next episode.
Thank you.